psychotherapist in the city of Chicago. I've been in the field for about 8 years now, and in private practice, in my own practice for about 7 months. I work with adults on an individual basis on just a lot of different life issues, depression, anxiety, relationship issues, work-life balance, job stress, kind of you name it. Well, way back in high school, I signed up for physics class because I wanted to go on the trip to Great America. But, but they canceled the trip, so I dropped physics class and decided I was going to take psychology instead, and absolutely loved it. I was just really intrigued by, how the brain can work and how it can dysfunction, and just got really hooked on it and took more classes in college and just fell even more and more and more in love with it. Also, I'm extraordinarily nosy. I like to know other people's business, so it's a really, it's really nice to be able to sit and talk with people on a one-on-one basis, get to know them, understand, kind of where their brain is, derailing and, making them unhappy, and, helping them to work to get a little bit more happy. One person that comes to mind, a young lady that I worked with, I still see her kind of for some maintenance checkups, like once every 6 months or so. I'm sorry, not 6 months, 6 weeks. But she came to me really depressed, had been, kind of a cutter. She would, have these horrible, anxiety attacks, depression attacks, and, would be cutting on herself. And through cognitive behavioral therapy and a lot of worksheets, workbooks, we took what was making her so unhappy, building on her self-esteem, building on her strengths, and got to a point where she's no longer crying. She's actively taking out her worksheets, not cutting. And she wrote me a really nice note and stuck it in my file folder one day, and just basically said, thank you so much for all that you did to help me. You brought me back to life. I can't even imagine how my life would be without you. So when she started, she was, really depressed, failing in relationships, not really liking her job, having a difficult time setting boundaries with people. And, here we are just kind of doing some check-ins about, how is the relationship going? She's in a, happy relationship, doing much better at work, and handling her stress in a way more appropriate way.
As a person who helps heal others, how do you keep a boundary for yourself when you're dealing with so many people with issues?
Yeah.
How do you help yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I try to practice what I preach as far as, self-care. So sticking to my boundaries, one thing, like not taking, calls, really late at night or letting it, go on. I do exercise and, have a few different, ways of kind of like letting go of my clients after the session is over. I, kind of go through my own mental process of leaving them at the office and letting them go as I'm making my way home. It's a technique that I, learned in grad school. One of my professors had told us, don't take your clients to bed with you, meaning, they're not, waking up in the middle of the night thinking about you. So, you can't be waking up in the middle of the night thinking about them. So took a lot of practice, a lot of hiking, a lot of, processing with my supervisor, but, learning, just the basic self-care as far as, letting them stay at the office. I kind of am more cognitive behaviorally oriented, and so that means I take a look at, what the thoughts that people are telling themselves, kind of how are they disturbing themselves in the words of Albert Ellis. He's the father of cognitive behavioral therapy. And taking a look at what are you telling yourself that's disturbing you, and how can we reframe it? How can we switch gears? I tailor it to each individual, based on, an intake appointment, talk about, their strengths, some of their, growing edges. I don't like to say weaknesses, but growing edges. And, talk to them about what they're wanting to get out of counseling. So we tailor it, as far as what their goals are, but I do follow, kind of what are you telling yourself, and then how is that, coming out in your life in, different forms of dysfunction.
So would people buy packages, or would it be an individual visit, and then, or how would that work?
Yeah, it's individual sessions. I don't do packages. Some people, want to just do short-term counseling, usually, 6 sessions or less. Or, we can do longer-term counseling where, folks have found that, oh my gosh, I came in for this work issue, but what we're, talking about, oh my gosh, I'm able to apply it to my family, and I want to spend a little bit more time, working on that. So it's basically, I don't do like a package or anything like that, but just talk to the client about what their wants and needs are. Some people, only want to come in a little bit, and some people want to have kind of an ongoing, relationship where they can, talk about, their just life problems and kind of navigate whatever, curveballs get thrown at them.
Well, you mentioned about hiking, and so what other fun things do you do then? Just to let go and let the office be at the office.
Yeah, I love to hike. I went to school in New Mexico, and so it was a really great area, for hiking. Living in Chicago, there's not such great hiking, but I do love the Lakefront Trail, going biking, jogging, rollerblading, things like that. Try to get away up to Wisconsin, out in the country, Michigan, just kind of get some nature and kind of go hiking that way. And just kind of, if somebody's really, sticking in my brain, I find that's a really good way to go out into nature and kind of leave them out there, metaphorically speaking, of course. The other thing that I really like to do is workshops and public speaking, and so I would really love to, kind of have a whole business of, doing part counseling, part workshops, and trainings. I've done a few trainings recently, a sexual harassment prevention training, a prevention, drug and alcohol prevention training in the workplace for a few companies. Really have enjoyed it, so really would love to have a business that's part counseling and part, groups and workshops. About me, one thing that makes me different as far as psychotherapists go, I'm an experiential therapist. I went to school where everything that I learned that I'm going to do with you in the therapy process, I've done myself. So we did a lot of role plays. I've been in the hot seat, so to speak. I've tested out all the different modalities, like on myself and on other people. So I've done pretty much whatever it is that I'm going to ask you to do. So that makes me a little bit more different as far as therapists go. I also think that therapy counseling doesn't have to be really heavy or depressing, and so like bringing humor, lightness into the counseling sessions. I do like to joke around with my clients and build a rapport that way. That it doesn't have to be boring and tedious and tear filled all the time. It can be kind of fun and upbeat.